Oh, yes, that's right. You guessed it. 1.18 Caves and Cliffs Part 2 out now. Guys, lots of changes, big mountains, and huge caverns like this. Stay tuned and let's discuss. Hey there, guys. Skippy here from Skippy 6 Gaming. Guys, coming to you with what looks like a brand new update. 1.18 Caves and Cliffs Part 2 out now. So this is a very cool and unique update because this changelog's kind of big. I have it kind of broken down to, like, you know, the precise information. That said, there's not very many or not any new blocks added to the game. Rather, we are talking about the generation of the caves and the cliffs. That's right. I have a night vision potion on right now because I just so happen to be situated over one of the hugest cave systems ever, and we're going to take a look at that after. So if you enjoyed this sort of content, consider subscribing to my YouTube channel where we do all the news, updates, and changelogs right away. So so what we're going to do is I have the changelog ripped down to, you know, maybe 8 pages, but it's really down to only the specific info you need, including the new biomes, the new things, and stuff like that. And so we're going to do that. When we come back, we're going to take a look at some of this terrain. I'm kind of situated myself in the location where I'm central to all kinds of really huge caves and things. And so let's jump in. We'll do the changelog, and then we could take a look. Okay, let's jump right in, guys. The music scene has been changed. We have a new music disc by Lena Raine called The Other Side. You're going to find it in the Stronghold Corridor chests, more rarely in dungeon chests, and it looks just like this. That said, there is also other music added to the game that's going to be playing in the background of, survival worlds. And Lena Raine has a few new tracks here: Stand Tall, Left to Bloom, One More Day, Wending, and Infinite Amethyst. In addition, we have Kuna Tanioka. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right. We're going to have Floating Dream, Comforting Memories, and An Ordinary Day. All of these are going to play in their respective biomes, and adding a whole new ambiance. That brings us to the main portion of this update. There's going to be caves and cliffs, right? So caves and mountains. The cave changes are right here, completely overhauled. They're going to go down to -59, and the caves now generate in 2 different layers of stone depending on how deep they are. That said, anything above Y8 is going to be made out of the regular stone you're used to seeing in Minecraft. Stone transitions to deep slate from Y8 to Y0, so anywhere between the old bottom of the world and 8 up. And then deep slate completely replaces everything stone below Y0 all the way to bedrock, which is now at -59. Certain types of ores and structures will still generate in the deep slate layer, as well as tuff and gravel. Dirt, dorite, granite, and andesite do not generate in this layer. Biomes such as the dripstone caves, the lush caves now generate in the underground, contain aquifers, bodies of water with different heights, independent of sea level. So in the olden days, guys, Minecraft, you'd had your little lakes of water, but for the most part, all water was at Y63, that was sea level. And now we have different sea levels, I guess, in the cave. So aquifers below Y0 sometimes generate with lava instead of water. Improve the old caves to blend with the new generations of caves better. So, sometimes they would look weird with the old caves. The new noise caves, they come in 3 forms: spaghetti, cheese, and noodle. They're the 3 different types of caves that, combine to make up these cave systems. Cheese caves have large stone towers stretching from the bottom to the top and are often large enough to allow safe elytra flight, so huge caves. Spaghetti caves are long, thin, and have small aquifers and are more similar to the original caves. In addition, we have noodle caves. They are thinner, squigglier, and more claustrophobic variants of spaghetti caves. That said, brings us over to the mountain changes. So the mountains here, they're going to come in 6 sub biomes. So of course we're going to have mountains, but there's going to be 6 different type of, the tops of the mountains. First one is meadow, a grassy elevated biome that looks like a flowery and colder plains, with an aqua grass color and a dark blue water color. So water, grass, they all change colors just like in the old biomes. Generates in plateaus and the lowest layers of some mountains, usually near plains and other temperate biomes. Contains grass, tall grass, dandelions, azure, bluets, cornflowers, poppies, flowers in general. Birch and oak trees can rarely appear in this biome, as well as bee nests. Only rabbits, donkeys, and sheep are going to spawn. And plains villages and pillager outposts are definitely going to be there too. The grove, it can generate in the slopes of a snowy mountain when next to a forested biome, reminiscent of the snowy taiga, with a surface of snow blocks and powdered snow instead of grass blocks. Rabbits, wolves, foxes, sheep, pigs, chickens, and cows will spawn in this biome, as well as pillager outposts. Snowy slopes are going to generate in the slopes of a mountain when next to a snowy tundra covered in snow, snow blocks, and powdered snow. Only rabbits and goats are going to be there. Igloos, of course, and pillager outposts. Pillager outposts are going to be everywhere. Jagged Peaks, one of 3 biomes that generate in the mountain peaks. These are the very tips, the peaks, and yeah, covered in snow, snow blocks, and stone. Tends to generate in sharp jagged peaks in areas where snowy, cold, and temperate biomes. Only goats are going to spawn in this biome, and of course, the pillager outposts. Frozen Peaks. So, Frozen Peaks, one of the 3 biomes that generate in the mountain peaks, covered in snow, snow ice blocks, and packed ice. So we got more snowy peaks, right? They tend to generate in smoother, less jagged peaks in areas with snowy, cold, and temperate biomes, just goats, and pillager outposts, of course, and stony peaks. You know, I guess it's like snowy peaks, but just stone. One of the 3 biomes, of course, stone, gravel, and calcite. So strips of calcite tends to generate in any peaks surrounded by warm biomes like jungles and savannas to avoid the temperature clash. Nothing spawns in this biome but pillager outposts. And that brings us to the ore veins. So the ore veins are going to be a little bit different. They're going to basically become long and rare ore formations. So, you know, once in a while, you're going to come across like a really big vein of ores. Copper ore veins mixed with granite and blocks of raw copper will generate above the Y0. And iron ore veins mixed with tuff and blocks of raw iron are going to generate below Y0. Upgrading of worlds. So, number one question everybody wants to know, what's going to happen to my old world? So this is what's going to happen to a world that doesn't have this kind of formation before the update. So basically what it says here is that all biomes and terrain from old and new chunks will seamlessly blend, preventing the hard cut borders from before. Any player made structures in these chunks may either be intact, buried, or deteriorated. Several checks are made on the previous bedrock layer to determine whether or not a chunk should generate new terrain below. The game first checks if there's any bedrock at Y0, therefore meaning it's an old world. And if it's detected, it's going to check and make sure that it has air at Y. So each column in a chunk has air at Y0. New terrain only generates under columns with non-air blocks. So yeah, the bottom of your world is not going to be the bottom of your world anymore. A whole new bottom of your world is going to generate. The old bedrock layer between Y0 and Y4 in old chunks gets replaced with deep slate, because remember before it wasn't a flat line in survival. And yeah, a new bedrock layer is placed on the bottom now, which is now -64 to -60. So how easy is that? There's been some small changes to blocks and stuff. Right here, copper ore now drops 2 to 5 raw copper when mining instead of 2 to 3. Some more. Magma block slightly increased the frequency of underwater magma. Stone cutter, a block of copper can be converted into 4 cut copper using the stone cutter. Mob changes, axolotls only spawn in water above clay blocks in Lush Caves. So you have to be in a lush cave to get the axolotl, making it much more rare because they were everywhere before. Cod, salmon, pufferfish, tropical fish, and dolphins are only going to spawn in water between Y50 and Y64. Again, above in the overworld, not in caves. In addition, tropical fishes will now spawn in lush caves at any height. So tropical fish and axolotl will spawn, I guess glow squids as well. Drowns can now spawn inside aquifers, inside drip soaked caves. Glow squids now only spawn in water blocks under Y30. So that's simple. So basically glow squids are now going to be only spawning under. Goat now only spawn in snowy slopes, jagged peaks, and frozen peaks. So those are 3 of the biomes we just went over, right? So yeah, goats are only going to be there. General changes, hostile mobs will only spawn in areas where the light level is equal to 0. This change affects block light and not sky light. So that change was made because they have made it so mob spawners do not emit light anymore. Even though they look like they do, they don't, and this would help, you know, this is going to help mob levels in your world. World generation, amethyst geodes now only generate up to Y30. Badlands can now generate in mountain peaks. Red sand generates a bit higher. Beaches are now generally wider. In some places, there's a chance where no beach generates at all to provide some variation. Let's do this. So we got some small changes here, and the ore distribution has kind of been finagled. So yeah, Lush Caves are going to be another, type of cave in the world. Azalea trees are now going to generate above the Lush Caves, inside hills or mountains. Mine shafts have been kind of tweaked because they kind of get messed up when these mine shafts would go into some of these huge caves. So mineshaft pieces no longer generate as if they were floating in the air. Corridors now generate with wooden logs as pillars for support underneath, and they have chains and oak fences hanging from the ceiling. Cobwebs no longer generate floating without an adjacent block, now generate higher up in Badlands. So that's pretty simple, guys. They had to do some changes because the old mineshafts kind of hanging around in the thing kind of look weird, so they fixed it up. So ore distribution, guys, I'm just gonna explain. So basically, in the olden days, there's certain places where you can find more ore, less ore of different types. A good example is emerald ore is always, the most emerald is the higher you go. You find it in the mountains, and it gets lower and lower the least you go. And red stone is really down at the bottom of the bottom, and everywhere else. So they've readjusted it so it kind of gets bigger, a little bit different. And as you can see on the right here, it's just, it used to just be more cookie cutter. Like you would get this much from an exact area, and now it's much different. You go up 20 blocks, there's going to be a lot less gold. You go down 20 blocks, a lot less. They had to take this into account because they want you to still find some stuff in the deep slate. And you can see something like diamond, it's pretty much at the bottom of your world. Everybody used to go I used to go mining for diamonds at, Y11. So now that's going to switch up for you, and I think you'll find something like that. They're only going to be below Y16 and, above Y negative 64, which is the bottom of the world. So there's probably going to be a new, peak location for diamonds. Something like that is going to cause this change. So, and we have a few more switches here to mob changes. Mobs can now pathfind over trapdoors. Mobs no longer walk through campfires. Axolotls now animate correctly when airborne, just in case they start flying. Sweetberry bushes now damage mobs. Mobs no longer try to pathfind through sweetberry bushes. The riding position of llamas no longer shifts after being tamed. Fixed an issue preventing tropical fish from spawning in lukewarm oceans. Fish now attempt to avoid axolotls. That's a good idea. Magma cubes are now correctly aggressive towards golems and slimes and are no longer aggressive towards snow golems. So user interface changes. Structure block can now be saved and loaded within current dimension height limits. Fix an issue where searching for non-existent content brought up the incorrect result message. Fixed overlapping text on offerings occurring in 4 1/3 resolution or 4th. I don't even know how to say that. That's super interesting. I've never said 4/3 because usually it's 16:9. Yeah. Resolution screens. Fixed Java Edition parity while laying in a bed. In a multiplayer game, message shows how many players are lying in a bed while waiting for players to fall asleep. Provide better visual feedback and hints for different render distance settings. I saw one of those when I logged in today, actually. That's super cool. It suggested that I have, a lower frame rate or lower render distance. And I was like, wow, I thought, so we're good. Renamed some occurrences of level in the user interface to be more accurate world. When a value for a stepped slider does not correspond to a stepped slider, it will display at the closest stop. That's, the sliders that you keep going, especially like for render distance. Replaced the missing always day option in world settings, which I always use. Fixes the rendering of icons in the text, making the colors not distorted. Parity changes, of course. Raid mobs now despawn after raid ends if the player moves too far away. So you're not going to come back if a raid happens. I think you just leave and they'll despawn. I'm not sure if you still have the effect, then they'll probably come back. Yeah, raid boss color bar charge changed from red to purple. Vindicators no longer spawn in Illager patrols. Shield blocking animation now plays smoothly. Raid boss bars now decrease whenever a raider takes damage. Villages, guys, hero of the village effect now applies to all players who helped kill a raider. So, hero of the village. Villagers will keep following their schedules in worlds that have been ticking for a very long time, and when the game is negative. Actors' lightning bolts do not have a shadow anymore. Block changes. Snow, grass, block, and all types of snow blocks are now use similar colors. Campfires no longer drop only one charcoal when broken, with a piston or an explosion instead dropping 2 units as expected. Light blocks are going to survive a TNT explosion. So this is right here. We got gameplay changes. So again, I think we doubled up on this one. The first 3 are in the one that I just did. That's pretty interesting. General clouds, raise cloud level from 128 to 192. I always turn them off, but you know, that's a real thing. Height limit has been increased to 384 blocks, expanding 64 blocks up and down, with 319 being the limit upwards and -64 being the limit downwards. Menu screen. Main menu background is changed to reflect the Caves and Cliffs Part 2 update. World creation screen removed old world types. Existing world with old world types will still be playable, but will not be updated with the 1.18 features. Let's do... And here we go with some fixes and stability. So players are no longer disconnected if server and client have different runtime block IDs. Optimize the time it takes to place vines in the overworld. Fix several crashes that could occur during gameplay. I've said that a million times in my life. Fix a crash when loading certain level chunks. Optimize the generation of ores in the world. Fix a crash that could occur when going through portals with tamed pets. Fixed a soft lock that could sometimes occur when attempting to generate a world from a bad template. Added missing screen reader to the controller lost connection prompt. Order of function calls triggered by /execute inside a function are now consistent. Gameplay changes, guys. Corrected portal locations when the portal was moved but the location was not updated. Breaking a block below fire no longer creates invisible fire when the do fire tick game rule is disabled. Fix structure void block, forcing players to spawn above ground if they left in a cave filled with those blocks. Fixed a bug where players could create an X-ray vision effect when inside a block below Y0. New random number generator used for overworld generation. Fire charge is not consumed anymore when used on lit candles, candle cakes, campfires. Either way, it doesn't get consumed when you use it on something that's already on fire. Fixed a problem that caused certain worlds to increase in size, causing high RAM usage. Fixed shallow water turning brighter when aimed while holding a small drip leaf. Tall flowers will now drop only 1 item when broken by water placed in the upper half of the flower. Fixed an issue where terrain could be seen through. Education features NPCs no longer have idle sounds. Chorus fruit now works correctly at -y coordinates. Loading older worlds will no longer cause chunks to be empty. That's something that you see so much of. Fixed leaf blocks not remaining transparent when surrounded by partial blocks such as buttons or slabs. General changes. Players with higher than recommended render distance are now prompted to change. See, that's exactly what I told you. It did prompt me. I guess, you know, I feel like I should be able to have max, but it told me to dumb it down, so I feel like that's odd. Yeah, render distance, default, and max setting have been updated for better performance. A prompt now warns players that they are returned to the main menu if they sign in while in game. So I guess if you sign in while you're in the game, then they're gonna kick you out of the game and you have to rejoin. Adding cache support for sub-chunk requests and filled issues with holes in the terrain. Fixed a rendering error that could occur when attempting to render a vanilla mob in a base game version prior to the version that the mob was introduced through JSON files. Most content errors and warnings now display only once, and there we go, guys. So this is pretty cool. I mean, at the end of the day, I do have my little platform set up, and there wasn't really too many changes that I have to go out of my way to kind of list for you guys. We do have the new music disc right here, so I think that we'll play it, you know? Here, listen to it for a sec while I be quiet. As we move farther away, the music ends. It's pretty loud, actually. Can you know? I think we're gonna have to stop the music. So please don't stop the music. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. So now let's take a look. So basically, like I said, guys, There's almost little to no actual block changes, no new blocks, things like that. A few small changes with regards to, you know, drip leaf. Big drip leaf is now limited to growing on dirt and things of that nature. Light blocks, if I remember correctly, light blocks aren't going to blow up with TNT because they're not supposed to be there at all, right? And yeah, so easy enough. I don't think we actually have to go through very many, if any, of these changes. What we have to do is look around. So in this system right here, I think I'm going to do this. Okay, well, let's go ahead and throw these back on. In this system right here, we're going to throw this on because we have the world's hugest cave here. There isn't a Lush Cave inside of it, but it is the world's biggest cave. So I feel at least partially that this is, I don't know, a little bit unrealistic. You know, it's kind of huge. Basically, you can see that these caverns right here are the first caverns they explained, where you basically have stone pillars going all the way up and all the way down, leaving it wide open. This is just too mega big. Look at this huge cavern area. I feel like it got a little darker right here. Is that my potion? Yeah, so I think maybe once you get to a certain depth, but you can see a good example of some of the actual mine shafts, because this was a big topic of conversation. Some of the changes were that these cobwebs are only going to attach to other blocks now, so they're not going to float. So these ones are basically attached to the blocks under them. Very cool, very interesting. We are also in the deep slate, and yeah, protection looks good. Let's keep going. And now if we go over here, you can see kind of, let's actually do this. So now that we switched this up, you can see we are at -44. So in the olden days, Y0 used to be a 0 number, but now we are going to go, actually, let me take it once over here. You're going to see that the new bottom is now -66. So you can see -66, the new bottom right here. You're not going to be able to place anything under there. And up. So on the way up, guys, we went over the top level, but you can see everything here is going to be deep slate. There is no other stones. It's just deep slate with the additional, you know, there's going to be other tough, and there's one other stone I think is granite. I feel like it's, or if it's gravel right here. So gravel, so tough, gravel, deep slate, all down low, lots of mobs. It looks super cool. You know, the dripstone comes into play. I think really when you look into it, the only thing in this update is cool mountains and cool, okay, nope, we're gonna go over this one right here. So basically, here's another example is you can see anywhere where these mine shafts exist, this wood is gonna come from the ground and hold them up. They used to float, so now it's a little bit different. In addition, I'm not sure that I could see, I wonder if I can find one here on this side. And there's chains holding up the actual platforms. I've seen a few of them here. I feel like those ones are a little different. I don't know, guys. I feel like this is a little bit, at least a little bit unrealistic. I feel like, I don't know, it's just maybe too much, too big. You could see also that the water line, you know, there's a whole new water line. Notice we're not at Y63 where all the water was before. We're now at a different number around here, and you can see it looks really cool. I like the way that things are taking shape. I think we'll probably get a chance to see some of the chains. I just wanted to show you some chains. There we are. We did it. Look at this. So now anytime you could see we have the wood holding up the platforms from the bottom, but we also have these chains. These chains will go all the way up into these log fences or into these oak fences, and they will hold up these platforms. How awesome is that? I think it's super cool. Again, I feel like the generation could use a little improvement. I feel like this is kind of a wonky area. Glow squids, looking good, feeling good. So, guys, I really feel that, oh, I think that that's an amethyst over there. I feel like my radar's on. Oh, how awesome is my radar? And I think that we could try to find some, oh, ding dong, ding dong. I love the sound of this. I think we'll probably just spend, you know, the next 5 minutes looking at cool mountains, caves, and cliffs. I'll do a little time lapse, listen to it, love it. And yeah, I think, you know, that's the best way to go on this one, guys. Don't forget to smash the like. I'll catch you on the next one.